The ups and downs of bandwidth. I'm Huey Poplock. Measuring bandwidth. Bandwidth is measured by megabits and megabytes. And there's 8 bits to a byte. So you need to make sure that if you're measuring it and you're looking at what the bandwidth is, if it's a capital B, it's megabytes. If it's a small b, it's megabits. And you'll see the chart. It compares them. It's just 8 times or divided by 8. Depends on which way you're going. You have a 20 megabyte or 20 meg or megabits connection speed. Here's the conversion. 1 bit equals 0.125 or 1/8 of a byte. Thus, a 20 meg connection in reality is only 2.38 megabytes per second. Internet speed, the number they give you, 5 megabits per second, for example, Mbps, has nothing to do with how fast your internet works. It's not like your car or motorcycle where you can measure how fast it goes in miles per hour or mph. Instead, internet speed is your allocated bandwidth. Bandwidth is the amount of data that can be sent to you, usually measured in seconds. For example, 5 megabits per second would mean that you can receive up to 5 megabits of data per second. The best way to explain and understand how bandwidth and your internet speed works is by using an analogy. We're going to use a couple of them. The first one is, think of the bandwidth like a freeway. All the cars or the data travel at the same speed. So to get more data from the internet to your computer faster, the freeway needs to be wider. Have you ever been on a freeway where one of the lanes is closed or a couple of the lanes are closed and everybody is end to end? You can't go as fast. But when everybody is side by side, all the lanes are open. Once you get past the point where the accident was or where somebody's pulled over, everybody, all of a sudden, there's no bottleneck anymore. Everybody's going up to the speed limit or more. In other words, say 1 megabit per second is the equivalent of 1 lane of freeway. And let's say that you were trying to download an image which is 5 megabytes in size. So if you had a bandwidth of 1 megabit per second, 1 lane freeway, it would take you roughly 5 seconds to download the image. Now let's say you have 5 megabits bandwidth connection or a 5 lane freeway. How fast will you receive your image? In about a second. More bandwidth means that you'll receive more data at the same time. In this example, you can download 5 images with the wider bandwidth. In the same time, you could download 1 with the narrower bandwidth. Here's another picture of that same analogy. Bandwidth is like the number of lanes. The network devices are on-ramps, traffic signals, signs, and maps. And packets are like vehicles. In other words, how they're the container in which they're moving. What's important to note here, and this confuses a lot of people, is that your internet isn't any faster from 1 megabit to 5 megabits, or how much your bandwidth connection has. Your data is just transferred to you at a faster rate because more data can be sent at the same time. It's more efficient, making your internet perceptually faster, but not technically faster. Another confusing thing about shopping for internet is when you see speeds listed like this, 5/1 megabits per second. What does this mean? Well, that means the internet plan has a download speed of 5 megabits per second and an upload speed of 1 megabit per second. The reason why your upload and download speed are different is because most internet connections are asymmetric. In English, this means that the bandwidth is a different size going one way compared to the other. Since most users consume content rather than upload it, the bandwidth for download speeds is larger than the upload. Yeah, what does affect your Internet speed, the connection type. Are you DSL? Are you using an old modem? Are you using cable modem? Are you using fiber optics? Something else that may affect it is your traffic congestion. Is your neighborhood using a lot of bandwidth? Is your house using a lot of bandwidth? Do you have more than one person on the computer in different rooms downloading or uploading data at the same time? What about the wiring? Do you have bad or old wires or connections or equipment? Either in your neighborhood, in other words, in your yard, going from the pole to your house or from wherever the internet is coming through, is that old? So you may not even know. You may have rewired your house. It may be a new house, but the connections nearby may be old. And then, of course, distance. If you're farther away from the switching center that's sending the signal than someone else, your bandwidth may be less. Also, just consider this. If you're in a household and you've got 3 computers being operated in different rooms at the same time, you only have so much bandwidth, so much pipe coming into your house. If you've got 3 people using the internet at the same time, doing similar things, each one is getting about 1/3 of that bandwidth. So if you're paying for 300 the bandwidth of 300 megabits per second, each computer is going to get about 1/3 of that, or about 100. So as you do the speed test for that computer and the other 2 computers are also working at the same time, your speed is going to be considerably lower than if no one is on either of the other 2 computers or not even on. See how to test your internet speed for help on how to accurately determine how much bandwidth you have available to you. Internet speed test sites are often, but not always, the best way to do that. How much bandwidth you need depends upon what you plan on doing with your internet connection. For the most part, more is better, constrained, of course, by your budget. In general, if you plan on doing nothing but Facebook and an occasional video, watching a low and high speed plan is probably just fine. Depending upon what you're using the internet for, you might be able to get an official bandwidth recommendation so that you know exactly what you'll need to use that service optimally. For example, if your internet runs smoothly right now, but you plan to add a movie streaming service to the mix, do some research on their website for the minimum bandwidth they recommend for interruption-free streaming. If you have a few TV sets that will be streaming, say Netflix, and more than a few computers, tablets, and other devices that might be doing who knows what, I'd go with as much as you could afford. You won't be sorry if you get extra speed. Again, here's another analogy, is the size of the pipe that the water flows through, or the data flows through. If you have a bigger pipe, you can get more water through there. It's not going any faster, it's just you're getting more of it at a time. So in other words, as the bandwidth increases, so does the amount of data that can flow through a given amount of time. Just like the diameter of the pipe increases, so does the amount of water that can flow through during a period of time. And so, say you're streaming a movie, someone else is playing an online multiplayer video game, a couple of others are on your same network, are downloading files or using their phones to watch online videos. It's likely that everyone will feel that things are a bit sluggish, if not constantly starting and stopping. This has to do with bandwidth. To return to the plumbing analogy, assuming that the water pipe to a home, the bandwidth remains the same size as the home's faucets and showers are turned on, data downloads to the devices, the water pressure at each point, the perceived speed at each device, will reduce, again, because there's only so much water, bandwidth, available to the home, your network. And again, here's another illustration If you've got a little garden hose and you put your finger in front of it, you've got low bandwidth, you've only got so much water going through it. You got a huge hose and it's wide open, you're going to get a lot of water through there. And here's some more on the pipe analogy with different sizes and so on. Put it another way, bandwidth is a fixed amount based on what you pay for. While one person may be able to stream a high-def video without any lag whatsoever, the moment you begin adding other download requests to the network, each one will get just their portion of the full capacity. The test will give you a specific result of how fast your internet really is operating, measured in megabits per second, or Mbps. Knowing how fast your internet is will give you a good idea of what you can do with it. So here's a chart. If you're just doing some web surfing, email, and no video streaming, you can do probably 2 to 4 megabits per second. As you add more and more things, and you get down to the several high bandwidth apps, high quality video conferencing, you're going to need 20 megabits per second or higher. The actual bandwidth needs may be higher depending upon the number of users and whether you're using shared or dedicated internet access. Now, as far as your internet service provider, who you get internet from, these are just a sample of some of the ones out there. I use Frontier. HughesNet is another. CenturyLink, Windstream, Spectrum, AT&T, Comcast, who are watching this all over the country and Canada. There are different providers that or serve internet and our internet service providers. Here are some places to test your internet speed. The one I use a lot is the one you go to Google and just type in speed test. And when you do, you'll see a little blue box. It says run speed test. When you run it, you'll get your download and your upload speed. I pay for 150 down and 150 up. I'm getting pretty close to that. So I'm probably getting my money's worth. If I do the test again, the download might be a little bit slower. The upload might be a little bit faster. They vary. Depends on what's going on the lines, and the speed can only be as fast as who you're connected to. So if I'm testing to a slower site, the speed itself is going to be slower. Here's another example. This is on a non-Fios or fiber optic, and so the download is always much faster than the upload, and that's because generally you don't require a lot of upload, because all you're doing is sending a request for a page, and then that page coming down is what you need the greatest speed. So to preserve bandwidth, the service providers give you a faster download than they do upload. This is on my service using another testing site called Ookla, and you can see I am getting what I'm paying for. And the ping, or milliseconds, the latency is very low on that one. Now here's an example from an iPad using the LTE, and I'm getting 20 in both directions, but I'm on a slower connection. I'm also using an iPad that only does 2.4 speed. It does not have the 5G, it is 2.4G. Here's another example from another device. It was 10 download, 7 upload. So it will depend where you are, what you're using, what equipment you're using, and what the connection is at the site that you're testing it. And here's one that, wow, a 85 millisecond ping and only 15 download and a 1.7 upload. So this isn't one that you would want to stream with. Okay, thanks. If you have any questions, if we have some time, we'll answer them. If not, you can find me at the address that's listed there, either the website or email. And thank you.
What you look at is to come down here, and if you look at the timeline here, you'll see that there's little bumps all along the timeline. So I want you to come down, and you'll see a description of the video here, and you click Show More. You see this little Show More here, And now you come down here and you'll see what we call a time chapter. And so what I've done here is I've created a time, what this is if you look down the list here, maybe all as you want, we know everybody just wants to watch the show for Bob's security stuff, right? So you come down here and you want to watch Bob's security stuff. So all as you have to do is come down and you'll see 735, click on the 735, and it will take you right to Bob's security talk, okay? And then you can come back down again, and if you want to watch the Google Calendar with Huey, you click on the time, and that will take you right to the Google Calendar. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you about this is we had some people who, if you go right back to the very beginning, we had some comments from people that there are a lot of people that scan these and sometimes want to watch part of it, but the problem is that they didn't know what was in the videos. So you'll find at the very beginning of the video, the very beginning, before the music starts and the intro comes on, what we've done is we've put a list of what the video contains. So if you want to go back and you want to look at the different videos and you want to find out what each, maybe you'll say, gee, there was something 4 or 5 videos ago that I want to watch again. We now have an index at the very, very beginning. So you'll see here, this is the index, what was in episode 17. So if I start playing, this will be on the screen for a very short period of time, and then we start into the intro and then into the show. So again, if you want to then move on down and you want to look at any particular part of the show, you can just come down the timeline. And if there is a video within the show, then you just watch for that little eye, because Huey and I are going to be using that a lot. These are called cards, and we can insert 5 into each show. So, for example, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, gee whiz, you want to watch Huey's Zoom 101 course on Thursday, and to register, and I'm going to point out just register here. And so if you click that little eye, that will take you right to the registration site. So you can use those little things as we go through the video. But it's a little tiny thing that it's just a tiny little thing that you can use. If you monetize your channel and you get here, I'm just going to unshare so we can see each other. If you monetize your channel, then you can put big banners in, and you can do a whole bunch more. But we're not there. This is all just free stuff we're doing just for the fun of it. So it's not. But you will see some YouTube videos that has very slick banners that come down and stuff like that. But that's because they have advertising and stuff like that. So I wanted just to let everybody know so that you are aware to click that little button at the top, because we're going to use that more often now. Okay, what is